Easy!
Not doing a full easy.
It's an under-21s easy.
It is, yeah.
But we'll have to take what we can get.
It's truncated.
Yes. How about that, gentlemen?
Very good.
Another trophy.
I thought we were doing it for a real surprise for me to see my late nan on stage at Glastonbury.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. With your Rod Stewart reference at the start. Sir Rod.
Sir Rod.
At the start of the show, yeah.
Sir Rod Stewart, eh?
Yeah.
What a weekend with the England under-21s, more Club World Cup action and Glastonbury, of course.
Yeah.
Luke went to see Iron Maiden as well.
I went to see
It's all
Iron
going
Maiden on Saturday.
Did
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Brilliant.
Oh, I didn't get down to Glasgow.
No. I saw that the lead singer of Iron Maiden was asked about the possibility of them playing Glastonbury, and said he would never do it. He's got no interest in performing to a bunch of young people fresh from their perfume-scented yurts.
Oh, right.
He's very against Glastonbury.
Yeah. He's obviously not been there. I mean, I've been once. There wasn't much perfume.
Can't imagine it's that fragrant.
Yeah.
No, it's fragrant, all right.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, Jim Campbell.
I thought that on the old Prodigy set last night. Looked amazing. I've seen Prodigy live and they're brilliant. But Sunday night, people have been there 4 days by that point and they are jumping around.
Yeah.
You could smell it through the telly. You know?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of those new TVs you've got, which is properly interactive.
Yeah. And the sponsor of today's show, actually.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Smell-o-vision.
Yeah. Now, England under-21s have retained their Euros title. They beat Germany in a thrilling match on Saturday.
We're retaining international titles now.
Back-to-back, baby.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. I tell you what, this was a great game.
It was brilliant.
And
really good.
I was obviously pleased England won, but I was so glad because they were so dominant. Like that first half, they should have really been about 3-0 up at half time.
And they should have. They should have been run away with it. But they also really rode their luck in key moments towards the end.
Yes,
Germany hit the crossbar a couple of times in quite interesting circumstances as well. So for them to get it over the line was incredible because they got pegged back.
They did, and so yeah. Before we get into the details, that's it. If you didn't watch it, England were 2-0 up after 25 minutes, and then Germany scored just before half time, and then they scored in the second half. But for England to kind of turn the tide as well, because when Germany equalise, you think they're going to go on and win this.
It's just about momentum, isn't
Totally,
it?
yeah.
Although, do you think that these days with the job that Carsley has done for the under-21s and the mentality that England seem to have?
Well, this was a very different side to last time around, of course. That's the way it goes. So I thought that they showed a lot of character and they dug in and were quite determined. But they've been a great side to watch. I mean, Carsley said himself ahead of the final, it's a shame we've only got one more game with these guys to play. But honestly, in that first half in particular, they were superb. Absolutely superb.
They were Susan.
They were. And Harvey Elliott got his goal, Jim, as he does.
Yeah, he's been fantastic in this tournament, isn't he? It's very. If you look around that team as well, there are players with a lot of experience for like an age group team. You've got obviously Tino Livramento in there and Joe Quansers and a few others that have played a lot. And Harvey Elliott doesn't seem like he should be with the under-21.
Yeah.
The amount of time it feels like he's
It's like
been around.
Maradona at 86.
Yeah.
Every time you watch him, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
He's just so good, like a cut above that level.
Well,
Really.
I mean, he has put one past Donnarumma as well, so a rare breed of Englishman. So
Sure,
when he's
yeah.
playing in this tournament, he's like, is that it?
But
Is that all I've got to beat?
You know, in 2010 when England were knocked out badly by Germany in the second round of the World Cup,
Can't remember.
and they had some really interesting, exciting young players coming through, like Thomas Muller then, and I think Sami Khedira.
Well, Mesut Ozil.
Ozil as well.
It was that crop, wasn't it, who beat England quite handedly? Was it
4-0,
4-0?
wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the Euros, that would have been the Euro under-21 final.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the point being now that it seems to be England that have got all these exciting, like different level players.
So extrapolate that out to next summer.
Well, I don't think we probably can't because
Oh.
Tommy Tuchel flew in, didn't he? Nah, don't bother. It's a long flight.
Yeah.
Nah, stay where you are.
Yeah.
Don't come here. Nah, don't come here. Nah, it's not worth it. Not worth it. And then Lee Carsley, when he's gone, saying to his players, whatever you do after this, don't get old. You'll be playing for that fucking clown.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Stay here.
You want to win trophies, you stay with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't you come with us? Tried it once.
Right, guys, everyone take your seats. I've got some birth certificates here. Just want you to fill them in, but leave the date bit blank.
Yeah.
I'll do that bit.
Big time.
You just sign it, and we'll get you back in again in a couple of years.
And we'll be away.
Yeah.
I mean, Harvey Elliott was named player of the tournament, one of the standouts. James McAtee was great. We want to see more of these players. They should all come to Fulham.
Well, I think both of those players in particular are very likely to move on in this window, right? So it'd be very interesting to see what we can see from them if they're commanding sort of regular starting places at their clubs.
I don't think they needed Thomas Tuchel to come in after the game and congratulate them.
Why not?
I just
It's nice though, isn't it?
no, is it?
Yes.
All right.
Why do you not think it's nice?
Joined up, isn't it?
Talk me through that.
It's joined up, yeah, but is it a join you want to make?
Are you saying that why is there a German coming in here?
No, I'd say if it was Sir Gareth,
Right, would you?
I would have been happy with it.
Right.
And I saw Thomas Tuchel in the crowd, and I thought, who's he supporting? That's what I thought.
Harry Redknapp over it.
Keep an eye on him. Get a camera on him.
National anthems.
And every time Joe would have a chance, watch him.
Yeah.
Like that Tim Ruff show with the liars, telling the liars.
Yeah, get them all out.
Yeah, get him on that.
Yeah, no, I think Tuchel passed the test. He didn't want to be there. He went, no, you're coming.
Yeah.
You are coming, me old son. Let's see what's going on here.
I want to stay here in LA with Liam Delap.
Right, Liam Delap, he missed out.
He's gutted.
But then we'll talk about Chelsea later, but he could win a trophy of his own, of course. But look, the it was a great win, as I say. I can wax lyrical about the performance. The fact of the matter is, you are right, Luke, that when it goes down to it, Germany hit the crossbar. I mean, that moment right at the end of the game. The
deflected one.
Yeah, when was it Cresswell who gets the toe on the end of it?
Yeah.
And England are desperately defending it, but they showed a determination and a doggedness, and they got over the line, and which is something that we haven't, obviously with the men's team, that's not been the case. The moment for me was the genius passage of play in the game was the ball by Tyler Morton for the winner. It's an absolutely undefendable, right in that danger zone.
It's an incredible ball.
It's in Kenny Loggins' danger zone.
It really is. That ball was on a highway to the danger zone,
and Rowe was there.
All he had to do was, I think he got his half head, half shoulder, wasn't it? Doesn't matter. The ball's so good, it's going in.
But that was so crucial as well, right at the start of extra time. And it was the old. And do you know what? I think a lot of people thought this. The words of Alf Ramsey, as he was known back then, but Sir Alf now.
No, yeah, exactly. We can't move for Knights of the Realm, yeah.
You've won it once, now go with it again.
Yeah.
And, I went on Twitter, now known as X, regrettably.
Yeah.
And Henry Winter tweeted that same.
Of course he did. You mean Sir Henry?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Soon enough.
Sir Henry would love a knighthood, wouldn't he?
I think we all would. I think we all, but are we as deserving? I don't think we are. But look, Jonathan Rowe, with his
first touch of the game.
Was it first touch?
I think so, yeah.
He only had a few, certainly.
I think it was, yeah.
But a lovely, lovely finish and well deserved. And it's the chat will soon enough. I mean, I know Tuchel said he would like to stay on after the World Cup, and I thought to myself, well, wait for the vitriol, mate. Then you might want to never come back to this.
Way early there.
Turn it in. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's not going to be up to you.
Yeah.
Based on what we've seen so far.
It'll be up to the baying mob.
It's like coming home pissed to your wife, shitting yourself on the floor and going, I'd quite like to extend this marriage. It's not up to you. Stop doing it.
Well, that's what he said. But the chat will turn now is that Lee Carsley has had great success as under-21s boss. And the way they did it this time, last time round in the under-21s, they won it without conceding a goal. And they were excellent, of course. This time round, he did it. He said, you can't just do it the same way. And that's partly because of the personnel, but I think partly as well, teams figuring you out, whatever. Different set of players, of course. Didn't have a handful of the players that he would have liked, such as Liam Delap being a well-documented one. They do this in the tournament where during the in the group stages they needed a result to get them into the next round. They were beaten by Germany, of course. They beat Spain, who are one of the great sides. We know. I don't need to tell you that they've got a handy under-21 side. They go on.
They were the favourites, weren't they?
Yeah, they go on and beat Germany in the final, the side that had beaten them. Chat will soon turn and say, "Look, come on, Lee.
Get some media training.
Yes.
Have another crack at that.
Well, but or even, are you going to be at the World Cup in some capacity working with the side? He is an asset to the Football Association.
I think you have a
huge one,
continuity issue at the FA, and you have for a while. And we've talked about it, we've moaned about it, and I think it's some kind of assistant being there to oversee stuff and work out how it's done. And
it's still burned by Stuart Pearce, I think.
Probably, yeah.
But Southgate there was a little bit
burned by Stuart Pearce on TalkSport. So I know how it feels.
But there was a little bit of that with Southgate, and then it seems to have been
but also out. The biggest concern around this specific subject you're talking about is that when Carsley did it last time, it was baffling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was so baffling.
This is it, isn't it?
It was like an avant-garde theatre performance.
He overthought it
on and off
every
the pitch.
Opportunity. Yeah, completely. So but that's interesting, isn't it? Because he will obviously look back on that and go, all right, well, there are lots of lessons to be learned from that. I mean, do you think that would take him out of the running? I think the problem remains that, and look, it's a bit churlish of us to be doing this because obviously he deserves the credit for back-to-back Euros.
Of course.
And he's done an amazing job.
But inevitably, the chat will turn to this.
And crucially, Well, inevitably, because you've decided it will on this show.
I don't think I'm the only one who's maybe.
You're the only one sitting next to me.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
Okay.
I don't care what other children do. You're my boy. No, but the point being that he's clearly very happy in this role, right?
Yeah.
So that's fine.
We've spoken about winning it a third consecutive time.
Love that.
Third consecutive time? I think that's right.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. The thing to answer Jim's point, though, to me, and I felt this when he was doing it the first time, whether we all like it or not, there's an ambassadorial part of the role at the senior level, and you have to have really broad shoulders. And it's no coincidence that, you know, the names of people that come in at England level, this time around, Thomas Tuchel, whoever else was linked, they're just used to being big name managers in the spotlight, and they can handle that pressure, because I do think it's a unique pressure being the England manager. Southgate kind of grew into it, but the point being, if people take exception of what I've said and use Southgate as an example,
but he was a player as well, so maybe there was
Southgate's had loads of caps for England, 50 odd, came in at a time when it was at such a low ebb. Everyone was like, literally, who doesn't mind picking through the rubble? It was different. It was very different. So I think, I don't know if it makes it gives him a greater or lesser chance, Lee Carsley, of becoming the senior boss. But I think it's probably moot. I don't think he wants to do it, and I don't think they'll choose him. And I think for now, he should enjoy his success, because he's done a brilliant job. And there's nothing wrong. There's no shame in giving these young players an amazing platform to experience winning things in an England shirt. That's great for all of us. Yeah,
it would be nice to see at least one or two of them at the summer, at next summer's World Cup, Jim. And so, you know, I would like to think Harvey Elliott, if he was sat around in the dressing rooms going, well, lads, of course, you know, let me have a little word here as someone who's actually won an international tournament.
Given what you know about him, probably would say that as well.
It would be so surprising. I mean, Livramento the only one I think who's got a full international cap in that team. There will be people expecting him to be called up again by Tuchel. Which players do you think could realistically have a proper go at being in the England team? Because James McAtee has been brilliant, but I think the lack of game time may scupper him.
I think it all depends on the various moves that some of these players are making this summer. Look at Jarrell Quansah, we mentioned Elliott and McAtee themselves, probably all of those players.
Well, Quansah's obviously going to Bayer Leverkusen,
but they're a lot more visible suddenly, right? Because they're just going to be playing a lot more. So it's very hard to make a call on that, isn't it? Until the season gets underway. I don't think really anything they do with the under-21s will affect their chances of them making the senior side without them impressing in the domestic setup.
It depends, and it depends also what moves they make next in their careers, because like Quansah's an interesting one, because he's going to a big club and he's probably going to play. You think he's going to play anyway. You've got a player in there like Archie Gray, who's had a very high profile Premier League season, but is probably facing a lot of stiff competition in that position. And Nwaneri is also caught a lot of headlines for breaking into the first team at Arsenal this season.
Elliot Anderson, maybe.
Well, Elliot Anderson's another one.
He was one where you think of the people that England have got in those positions.
And he looks like a man grown now. He does. Can take control of things.
And he's been brilliant in this tournament. And you're right to mention him, because, again, that position, if Tuchel's thinking, okay, let's nudge Declan Rice up the field a little bit into that more 8 role rather than the 6, even though he can do both brilliantly, then that sort of in front of the back 4 defensive midfielder, the screen, if you like. Anderson is an option. I know you've got other ones. People mentioned Wharton. Maybe some people still
want to see
little Angel Gomez back in there.
Or a little known fella that you and I have had our eye on for a while, Marcus, caused a very intense conversation in this very studio.
Jordan Henderson.
Yeah, he can do a job there as well.
He can.
But the other ones you mentioned, Elliott, McAtee, they need to play.
Yeah, exactly.
They're in positions where they're not playing, really.
Which is why Harvey Elliott's been talking.
So it's about what they got to do next.
I think with McAtee, I suspect my suspicion is he'll stay around at Man City and see. I don't. It's quite rare for a player of quality to kind of break away from that team with Guardiola there. But of course, it's Guardiola's last season coming up for Manchester City. Who knows? He may well have his arm twisted and sign another one, but we expect this to be his last season. Would he think, do you know what, one more year under Guardiola, I'm going to learn so much from one of the greatest managers of all time.
And he also appeared perhaps a few more times in the Premier League this season than I remember. I think he made 15 appearances in the Premier League.
Yes, he was there or thereabouts.
Involved, yeah. In quite a disastrous season by their own standards, though.
Yeah, but I would love to see Elliott move from Liverpool because he won't really get that much game time, I think it's fair to say. And as I have said, despite what other Fulham fans may think, I'd love to see him back at the club.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, I mean,
I suspect he's maybe got his sights aimed on maybe Champions League football, something like that.
You think he could get that?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's played it for Liverpool. Like I say,
so.
he scored the only goal
against PSG.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway,
in summary, though, guys,
go on.
Czech Republic, slugs.
Yep.
Slovenia, slugs.
Yeah, although they managed to. Yeah.
Germany, slugs. Spain, slugs. Netherlands, slugs. Germany again, slugs.
Yeah. Exactly.
England, victorious yet again.
Yeah. Salt water.
Absolutely dominating the age group European football landscape at international level.
You can only beat what's put in front of you, and if they only put up under 21
kids,
sides,
well, yeah, exactly.
Then
expect.
I would put all of the England under 21s into the national side, senior national side. So show them how it's done.
If this was in the noughties or the late 90s,
people would be saying it. Yeah.
People would be like, this team should start.
It's amazing. So people who listen to this show now are a bit young to remember the so-called golden generation and how crap it was. Like, you would not believe the shouts that people were making.
Yeah, do you remember?
Probably myself included.
Do you remember the clamour for Jermaine Beckford because it was something different? Yeah, but the thing is that it's not as good.
Do you remember like pining for 3 months for Gareth Barry because he'd injured?
Yeah.
Or do you remember when we were all saying that like we should just pick all Championship players because we're fed up with the other?
I don't think we were saying that.
I think I
really
was.
hope we weren't.
I hope I was.
No one will ever know because it wasn't on mic. Right. Coming up after this, the Club World Cup continues and some famous bums.
Not everybody agrees with Jurgen Klopp. And the other thing I would say to Jurgen Klopp is, if you don't like the Club World Cup, don't watch it. Everybody can do what they want. You can play paddle. You can go for a swim. You can watch something else on TV. Maybe watch Netflix. Go for a walk. Go for a nice meal. Don't want to watch Chelsea versus Benfica? Don't watch it. It's a free world.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. That was Calvert-Lewin losing his mind after Jurgen Klopp said of the Club World Cup. The Club World Cup is the worst idea ever implemented in football. People who have never had anything to do with day-to-day business are coming up with ideas, which I think is a bit over the top.
Yeah.
A bit strong, but fine. He doesn't like it. But then old Calvert seems to take it very personally.
Yeah, and he seems to have a genuine attempt at listing every single thing that a person can do there.
Yeah.
Like, he goes way too far. Yeah. Way too far.
He takes it really, really personally.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? And also, it's quite a childlike take, isn't it? Because if you don't watch it, it's still happening. Yeah. And it's still having all the negative effects that Jurgen Klopp is talking about. And also, he's obviously not watching it, is he?
And it's also like completely ignorant of the fact, from Calvert-Lewin's point of view, that Jurgen Klopp is probably responding to a question he's been asked by someone exactly like Calvert-Lewin, who's after a quote.
Yeah. Well, and always sounds like he's reading an eye test, that bloke.
Yeah. They're a strange breed, these guys.
They are.
They speak like no other human being speaks in real life. It's a really weird thing.
I love the fact because Klopp famously said when he was going to retire, he was going to take it easy. He went, I'm going to play paddle, like the game that's taken the world by storm. And he's often on Instagram, like posting about it and so on. And that's one of the things he says. You can play paddle. It's like, yeah, up yours, Jurgen. You can do that.
I remember you talking about paddle, and I'm going to reference it now.
Exactly. And we should say thanks to friend
back on football, have you?
Yeah. Well, thanks to friend of the Ramble, Mark, for sending us that clip.
There's an angle here, isn't there? That like Jurgen Klopp holds himself up as being this guy fighting for all that's good and proper in football and all the right things. Yet he takes a job as head of global football operations at Red Bull, right? But I don't think Calvert-Lewin, based on that, is the man to deliver that stinging rebuke.
I mean, if he really wanted to get under the skin of Jurgen Klopp, he could have said, "Well, what do you think of RB Salzburg being there?"
Yeah,
gone down that road.
Yeah, well, he did say that later
at the end.
On. He seemed to think it was some sort of gotcha.
Yeah.
Klopp had forgotten that he's involved with them.
But the problem is, it's only a gotcha if you've not spent the first 3 or 4 minutes of that whole spot acting like an absolute fucking prat.
Well, again, thanks to friend of the Ramble, Mark, for sending us that clip. If you fancy sending us a clip for next week's show, well, you're in luck. Just sign up to our Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get every episode of The Ramble on the continent and upfront ad-free. Early access to tickets and merch and access to the Football Ramble Discord, where you can chat with us and other Ramble listeners. Search patreon.com/Football Ramble to get involved. Right, everybody, let's talk about the Club World Cup. The round of 16 16 is underway, and PSG put Inter Miami to the sword, 4-0. All the 4 goals were scored before half-time. And Lionel Messi's out, Jim.
He is. There was something weird, wasn't there, about seeing him, Luis Suarez, Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba in particular having this type of performance inflicted on them, because we were so used to seeing that, that great Barcelona team do this to more teams than not, realistically, when they're at their absolute peak.
Maybe they could retire. Maybe they could play a different sport.
Yeah.
They could have a toasty.
Yeah.
There's so many things you can do.
Imagine if Carve Solicole's loses his mind entirely. Every single interview he does now.
Yeah.
He just says that.
He
says that to people.
They could take advantage of the summer sales.
Yeah.
What are you up to this weekend?
Yeah.
Have you considered
You could mow
an
the
aquarium?
Dunking a rich tea.
Not in the aquarium. That'd be unhygienic. Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear, yeah. 4-0, though. Big win. Big win for those who watched it.
I mean, Lionel Messi was all of us, wasn't he, in this game? At one point, he tried to punch for team. We've all been through that emotion watching PSG.
Oh, bollocks. Yeah. I mean, it was just PSG. That is their idea, isn't it, in this Club World Cup? It's very hot. The conditions are quite tough. Let's get this. Let's just blitz teams early.
I love the idea of Mascherano at half time to Messi going, right, guys, this is the setup. We're 4-0 down. We need to try and win the second half. Lionel, what I want you to do, I know, boss, you carry the ball up the field, relieve the pressure. No, I want you to punch for team. Okay.
This is the only chance we're going to get. We're out now.
You're the only player that can get near him. You punch him.
Imagine Suarez and Messi. Oh, I'm not dragging back. I'm not pressing from the front.
Lewis, just bite him. Just bite him.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
It was one of those things that I mentioned to you, Marcus, last week that I personally hate about football, which is when a team sets himself up for a good old shellacking, a good old gubbing with a 4-0 half-time scoreline, and then doesn't engage much in the second half. Now, I understand why.
Yeah.
I get the reasons.
Okay, I won't say them then.
I've sat through the adverts. I deserve to watch a good second half.
You do. Zlatan Ibrahimovic said Messi was surrounded by players who run as if they're carrying bags of cement. I mean, he's talking also about Suarez, Busquets and Alba as well.
Well, that's true, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true. You've got players at twilight of their career. Like Luis Suarez, look, incredible pro, achieved a hell of a lot. But Luis, we are effective. We're being honest with ourselves. We are effectively watching a Luis Suarez tribute act play for Inter Miami, which is, let's be fair, part of the underpinning of what Inter Miami actually is as a club. They've not got Luis. I mean, I suppose Luis Suarez probably can perform at MLS level. I don't watch MLS very often, so I couldn't speak to that with any authority. But when you're playing up against one of, if not the best teams in Europe, no one should be surprised at the shortcomings that we see in front of us.
Yeah, no, that's very true. It's a fair point.
And then the other players that play there are players who aren't good enough to play in Europe, right? So when Zlatan, who's got a track record of saying outrageous things, I know, but specifically pertaining to MLS, I think Zlatan was asked a question about whether it was him or who's the guy who used to play for Arsenal? He used to do a lot of chips over the keeper.
Carlos Vela.
Carlos Vela, whether him or Carlos Vela was the best player in MLS. And Zlatan said something along the lines of, well, I don't care. Look how old Carlos Vela is. Look how old I am. Carlos Vela's at his peak and he's playing MLS. I'm 36 or whatever it was. There's that element to MLS that is not going to be shaken off when seen through the lens of this type of game at the Club World Cup. That's just part of how it is. And I'm not criticising them for it. It sounds like I am. But everything I say sounds like a criticism, to be fair. It's just obviously going to happen. The guy, the poor chap who scored the own goal, he's given an absolute torrid time. He had an absolute terrible day at the office.
Also, they're only there because of the star power, right? They qualified through the ridiculous kind of Gianni Infantino.
It's an incredibly convoluted.
Yeah,
you're right, and so I think you are within your rights to criticise them because by all accounts they shouldn't really be there.
No, they're not. This looks like the European champions have schooled the best of MLS, but it's not that at all, is it? They're not one of the better teams in MLS at the moment.
Well, yeah, as they prove to be.
What they should have done instead, right, is walked to the park or pointed up at an aeroplane flying overhead.
Gone to the shop and bought some Ritz biscuits.
Crackers, come on.
Crackers, sorry.
Yeah.
read a novel.
Yeah.
Chelsea beat Benfica 4-1 in quite a chaotic game.
Do you know what Lee Carsley said to Liam Delap?
What did he say?
If you don't like the Euro Under-21s tournament, you could go and play in the Club World Cup for Chelsea.
You can sit on the bench. Chelsea 1-0 up through a lovely Reece James free kick.
Yeah, the commentary was great.
He's got pedigree for the free kicks.
Tell me you heard the commentary.
I did.
The commentator said
about the wall and
the goalkeeper set up the wall, but he didn't get planning permission.
I'm pretty sure it was Conor McNamara.
Could have been.
Yes.
Great commentator.
Yeah,
Good.
it's a great moment.
Unlike the sort of thing you'd hear him say in the UK, is there a bit of Ray Hudson going on?
Could be.
Maybe these people are kind of flexing a little bit.
I thought it was good.
It's the home of entertainment. It's the razzle dazzle of entertainment.
I thought it was good though.
I was hoping when I said that they were in LA, but they weren't. They were in Charlotte at the Bank of America Stadium.
Oh,
so.
were they just?
Yeah.
Then with 5 minutes left of the game, it was stopped, of course, because of lightning strikes in the area.
Oh, Enzo Maresca took it badly.
He really, really did.
He's got a proper temper on him, Maresca.
5 minutes left of the game, and it's delayed by an hour and 53
It
minutes.
is ridiculous. And it's, the sixth game that this has happened to?
More, I think.
Jim, I mean, but if
the weather doesn't like it,
if Maresca
is it thought about sun shining instead?
If Maresca doesn't like sitting around in the dressing room for an hour and 53 minutes, he could do other things, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could. Yeah, I mean, I guess he could
listen to a
construct
podcast.
a paddle ball.
Untie and tie your shoelaces repeatedly.
Because that's what I know.
Yeah.
Are we going to do this the whole rest of the show?
We might do. Yeah.
Okay, right.
There's a lot of stuff to get through. You know how many things you can do?
Yeah. Look, if you don't like it, you could carry on talking about football.
Yeah, I could
if you want.
Understood, yeah.
But anyway, so the game was stopped because of like. So I don't think that the strikes happened in the stadium. It's in a 30-mile radius, isn't it?
Yes.
Around the.
Well, they have a policy, obviously, which is related to safety around things like lightning strikes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Maresca, I think the salient point of Maresca's quite explosive comments.
Well, shall I read you it?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Maresca said, "I think it's a joke, to be honest. It's not football. It's not for us. You cannot be inside. I struggle to understand. I can understand that for security reasons you suspend the game, but if you suspend 7-8 games, that means that probably this is not the right place to do this competition." When asked about the match, he said, "I'm very happy we're in the last day of this fantastic competition."
He's right though, isn't he? Because I mean,
it's an issue.
What if this happens in the final? That's a terrible look for FIFA. Could happen in the World Cup final next year, which is an even worse look.
Well, it's
for
almost
FIFA.
certainly going to happen next summer because we've already seen it a handful of times.
And the salient point, as I was going to say, is just that if this happens at this time of year in this part of the world and we don't have the facilities to cope with it, then this isn't the right place for it. And I think that's probably fair. If you look at the Bank of America Stadium where they played, it was open in the mid-90s, right? So it's not got a full retractable roof and things that you would expect a modern stadium to have to combat that type of stuff.
Rubber stadiums.
I think we might do. I think we might need to do that, yeah. I think we might need to all be able to earth ourselves. Is that the opposite of what you want? I can't really remember how electricity works. But it was obviously suboptimal. And then what happened really in terms of the narrative of the game was interesting because off the back of that, Benfica get a penalty which Di Maria scores deep into injury time, which sends it to extra time. And you think, okay, so if that's how angry Maresca was after the game anyway, imagine how angry it'd be if they actually lose the game. But then Chelsea scored, and Nkunku scored a brilliantly instinctive, really courage, a grace under pressure, courageous goal. And then Benfica were just like, oh fuck it, well, there's no point fucking trying now. Well, they
were down to 10 men.
That bloody curse again, isn't it?
We fought we fought really hard. We're down to 10 men. And they've scored in extra time. Yeah. And they just wrapped their hands in after that.
Well, I think they were just pushing up. There's no point in losing 2-1. You've got to go for it. And the back door, in fact, the whole of the back of the house was left wide open, you know.
It was. With a big neon sign saying, please steal as much as you can.
I mean, they would have been
smashed a greenhouse on the way out.
Indeed. Benfica would have, they'll be disappointed they've gone home because they would have been one of the more unfancied teams. I know they're a big European side, but I mean
they're in a tough group as well.
They're in a tough group. They beat Bayern, and it was a good game. They ran Chelsea close, but Chelsea themselves, all the sort of weather chat aside, they've given a good account of themselves. Like we said, when they lost in the group stage, I thought, right, we're going to see a reaction here, and we have. And they're into the quarterfinals. And when they scored that second, you saw the way they celebrated.
Yeah.
I think as the tournament goes on and as these big games come around, obviously any team cares about any competition. These are competitive players. They're not just going to completely, phone it in or anything. But it'll be largely European teams at the back end of this competition, which I think most people probably thought we wanted one to the South American or a few South American sides, and it seems unlikely now. But not impossible. But Chelsea, they're up for the cup.
Allow me to summarise.
Come on.
It's a nouveau riche tournament for a nouveau riche club.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yeah, makes sense.
All right.
It's a meaningless bauble.
For a meaningless club.
Indeed.
Yeah. But if
It's the first trophy with, to my mind, with a lock on it.
It's got,
true.
and with 2 mentions of Gianni Infantino's name on it as well.
It's his name on the trophy.
Twice.
Fucking
It's on it
hell.
twice. I told you this, man.
Where's Clive Tilsley? Name on the trophy. Oh dear. Well, elsewhere.
That's what Gianni's got as his ringtone.
Maybe that's
what
it.
he did, yeah.
Elsewhere, 2 Brazilian sides were knocked out. Bayern beat Flamengo 4-2 and Palmeiras beat Botafogo 1-0. That's how it's pronounced in Scotland. Harry,
Does sound like that.
Harry Kane scored twice for Bayern. Lovely finish, particularly for his second goal.
Yeah, they were both brilliant.
Also, guys, in front of English referee Michael Oliver as well.
Yes,
Love it. I love to think there's a little wink on the way back to the halfway line. That's for you, Mickey. For you, Mickey O.
I hope not.
Yeah.
For the conspiracy theorists among us. But I mean, it was a really good game, actually, Bayern versus Flamengo. Flamengo gave a good account of themselves. Some sloppery errors really, really cost them. But the manager, Felipe Luis, was saying after the game, he was just like, we gave a good account. So, look at the stats, that they had more shots than Bayern. We really, really left it all out there. He had a few sloppy mistakes, but you're playing against such a behemoth like Bayern. It's
And,
very
Kane's
difficult.
second goal, it was like one mistake leads to this quite brilliantly instinctive finish that against most clubs you could probably cover that up, right? Most teams you probably get away with that. But Bayern are simply not like that, are they? A little mistake can be absolutely devastating.
Yes, indeed. They play PSG in the next round.
do.
Jim.
I like that a lot of the Brazilian elements to this Club World Cup have been typified by sloppy mistakes and looking for a punch-up. Like Palmeiras Botafogo, it's just intense.
Yeah.
It was.
It's just looking for a
By
punch-up.
the way, lovely goal to win. A proper daisy cutter.
It was a lovely one.
Yeah, it was a beautiful
It was a
finish.
great little bit of individual skill, and it came. Did it take a slight deflection and came through the legs of a defender?
It definitely went through the legs of a defender.
because it looked bad for the goalkeeper on first viewing because it was quite slow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But then if you look at the replay, he was very, very unsighted.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was an amazing wrestling match at one point.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was
Barbosa,
complete-
wasn't it? The old commando fella.
Yeah. And the thing is, the player who got sent off, you're watching watch the replay from behind where they basically have like a wrestling match, and then you're just absolutely stunned to hear that he's on a booking.
Yeah.
You're on a yellow and
I
you're doing
know.
that in that part of the pitch.
Well, it was like the Benfica, I forget his name, he got sent off against Chelsea when he was already on a booking and he goes in. I mean, I thought it could have been a straight red.
It was a really poor challenge.
They were complaining. It's like, lads, come on. I know they're not Benfica are Portuguese, obviously.
He was on a yellow. He did that challenge, and then he did about 14. VAR ref, VAR.
Yeah,
it's like you don't want the ref to look at that again. You get a bigger suspension.
You get a straight red rather than a second yellow.
Yeah.
Blimey.
But the other thing we've got to mention is that it does need to be mentioned. I didn't mention it in the Benfica Chelsea game, but it's relevant to the Palmeiras Botafogo game as well. The tendencies were poor. I mean, there's so few people there.
The group stages of the Club World Cup saw 57% of tickets sold. So a lot missing. There were apparently 1 million empty seats. That's across the board. That's not an enormous stadium.
It's like a Ramble tour.
How dare you? But yeah. But speaking of the Club World Cup, Brazil, Qatar, as they're actually called, but we say Qatar affectionately. Morocco and Spain are all in the running to host the 2029 Club World Cup. I mean, I assumed it would be Morocco, Spain, and Portugal because they're obviously
Because of the World
hosting,
Cup,
the World Cup in 2030. But no, it's up for grabs. If they awarded to Qatar, then they would play it in the winter.
No,
which is something we can all get behind.
Yeah, we joked about that on the podcast the other week, didn't we? And now it's coming true.
It's just incredible, though, isn't it? I mean, in the winter.
Yeah.
So the teams in the Premier League
Yeah.
are going to leave for the winter.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah. What's wrong?
I don't even know. I don't know what the rules are. Then.
Hang on a minute.
Presumably the domestic leagues would stop, would they? Or is it
Oh,
just
that's fine then.
two teams that
That's
just
fine.
go over there?
That's fine then.
Don't know.
You're being very Eurocentric right now.
I am.
Think of the poor Americans.
Yeah.
You've got Major League Soccer happening right now and the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't choose any of this. I did not choose any of this.
What would you have chosen?
I'm
A summer off for everybody.
enjoying it now.
Yeah, there you
but
go.
I didn't choose it.
So they've got us
Yeah.
by the Jaffas.
Yeah. Someone's ordered me a dinner in a restaurant that I didn't want, but I'll eat it.
Yeah, okay. All right. I think that's the analogy that we
It's
can
the
all
polite
get.
thing to do.
It's
tastes
disconcerting
all right.
to me
Yeah.
that we keep making jokes about things that then just immediately come true.
Yeah.
It just shows you how stupid
Oh, it's true.
everything is right now.
Tell you what'd be really funny if Arsenal won the Premier League. That'd be a funny joke, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'm helping you out there.
Well, Jim,
Thanks,
a joke that we was it a joke that we put to the listeners was after my chat about seeing Dennis Irwin's bum. Has anybody seen any famous bottoms out there?
I put a call out, didn't I?
They've replied.
So I said that Marcus spent quite a lot of time at Old Trafford once looking at Dennis Irwin's arsehole.
Quite a lot of time.
And,
Don't use the word hole as well.
Anus.
No.
Yeah, okay. Sphincter.
Anal ducts. But no, firstly, it wasn't quite a lot of time.
So last week we were talking about Dennis Irwin's arsehole, and this week we're talking about Carvey Solihull being an arsehole. But I said to people listening, and I know the Ramble listeners well, right? I know exactly what gets them going.
What they're capable of.
Yeah, and I said, look, if you've ever seen a famous person's arse, email in or message in. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it's been the most emailed in topic of this season.
Yeah.
Right, which tells us everything we need to know about our listenership, and God bless him.
Somebody said to me, you shouldn't be looking at Dennis Irwin's bum, and I replied simply,
It's a free world.
Yeah, exactly. You don't like it. Or I tell you what you could have done if you didn't like it, Marcus.
Yeah.
Hit it with a paddle.
If you don't like the Club World Cup, don't watch it.
you don't like a fair bum, don't look at it.
Anyway, so I've picked out 3 of my favourites from the correspondence we received regarding famous people's bottoms. Jack said, I saw the late, great Trevor Francis toweling off at a hotel swimming pool near Birmingham.
Lovely.
Even as an Aston Villa fan, a lot of respect for that arse and cock and balls. I actually interviewed Trevor Francis, spent an afternoon with the guy, and he was an absolute gentleman.
It was in this very
He was sat in that very chair, Marcus, and I'm pleased to hear that even an Aston Villa fan, in the shape of our friend Jack, has confirmed for us that he also had a lovely bottom and penis and testicles. Good for him. Billy Lucas also been in touch. I saw the late, great Roger Lloyd-Pack's arse, brackets and cock and balls, who was obviously, Roger Lloyd-Pack was called Trigger in Only Fools and Horses, among other acting performances, in Kentish Town, LA Fitness, about 17 years ago.
I love it. When that one came in, I was a bit like, why are we doing... Oh, yeah, we didn't specify football, did we? No. And why would we?
And Billy saw this 17 years ago. It's obviously stuck with him.
Yep.
He said, I believe it was Roger Lloyd-Pack's local gym, so he was in there fairly regularly.
Yeah. Maybe, that was, we've been going a similar amount of time. Maybe old Trigger from Only Fools and Horses was so excited about this newish podcast on the block that he just got Billy bollocks.
There's nothing to say he was excited, just that his cock and balls were there. Alfie Fox, hello to you, Alfie. Back in 2008, a mate and I were on work experience at the Grove Hotel in Watford. That's the hotel I saw Lionel Messi at, by the way.
Right.
And as luck would have it, it was also where the England squad was staying.
Ooh.
We were under strict orders not to speak to the players. But naturally, being 14-year-old football-obsessed goblins, this was very tricky for us.
Yes.
At one point, we needed to cut through the men's changing rooms, and boom! Rio Ferdinand and Wayne Bridge were there in all their glory.
Oh, good spots.
And I do mean all their glory because Wayne was stark naked, says Alfie. That image has lived rent-free in our brains ever since. We panicked and then pounced. We asked for a photo. Rio was a gent. Wayne took the picture once he towelled up, mercifully, and we were buzzing. We didn't get kicked off work experience, but we did learn 2 important things that day. 1, never meet your heroes in the changing room. And 2, Wayne Bridge is a surprisingly good photographer.
Love that. I love that very much.
Was once at a urinal next to Brian May. And
Nice.
I didn't have a look. I should have had a look.
You should have had a look.
Imagine the hair would have been similar.
Could have been, yeah. Absolutely could have been.
Yeah, it's funny, though, that I'm just noticing something here. So, as I say, Billy Lucas said about 17 years ago, and then Alfie Fox is back in 2008. Again, this is around the time.
It's the peak time for bums.
When the Ramble was kind of starting, and I can't think it's a coincidence.
Probably isn't. No.
Yes. All right, everybody. Coming up after this, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is leaving Everton, and a 6-month siege finally comes to an end. Right then, gentlemen, Dominic Calvert-Lewin will leave Everton as a free agent.
Can I get a rat check?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's run his contract down, hasn't he?
That's true.
Oh, turns out it doesn't matter as much when they're not as good. Different club, of course.
Or arguably going to maybe a better side.
Different
or a
club.
bigger side, not a better side. I say Liverpool are better than Real Madrid right now.
Different club, but same peninsula.
Do you think so?
Well, I just wondered if people were upset about it. I don't know. I've not seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally from what I've seen, Everton fans kind of wish him well and kind of appreciate.
I mean, it's very
what he's done
different.
for them.
Very different.
Very different, isn't it?
Come on,
I mean,
I think you need to apologise to Liverpool fans.
I don't need to apologise because all I did was ask questions,
Right.
and I wanted answers from you guys, and I've received them. So that's all I can ask for. But can I put something out there? Can I put a slightly hot tamale out there to you guys,
Please.
and just say, have we seen enough to fully establish that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is actually a good player at the top level?
I don't think we have, personally.
Yes, he says yes, you say no.
No, I was agreeing with the...
Oh, the question, the point of the question.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
he's 28 now.
Yes.
I think that there's a player in there with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I think that the injuries have just hampered him. And so what's it? I mean, his scoring record was 71 goals in 273 games for Everton, and joined from Sheffield United in was it 2016, around that time.
So I try to think about what we've seen from him, and I fell down on the side that said we've probably seen 1.5 good goal scoring seasons from him in his whole career.
I think that's about right. There was
His game is about more than that, though.
Yeah, a lot of it's about being injured.
No,
all the time.
Yeah, I understand that, Jim, and obviously Everton have been an iffy side over the years.
Yeah.
But he's not completed that many sort of full seasons when you're thinking 30 league games plus.
And I think as well, he strikes me as a player who can take a while to get back up to speed after an injury as well.
But clearly he's got talent. You know, the praise he's had from previous managers like Carlo Ancelotti, for example, said, he could go right to the top and all this. Now, that's probably a little bit too much. I don't think he was ever that good, because you're talking about a very elite level of player there. But I think if Calvert-Lewin can just stay fit and play for the right team, I know that's silly because people you say that about anybody. No. I think that there's a player there who could actually do okay.
You got your eye on him.
Yes. I honestly think if he went to Fulham,
I think it'd be a really good fit.
I think it would be a good fit. I think because
he can't be a good fit because he can't get on the pitch.
Well, so Raul Jimenez is what? He's no spring chicken. What is he, 34?
But you've never seen enough of Dominic Calvert-Lewin for however many years to think he can get on the pitch. It's not going to change if he just goes to Fulham.
Well, I've seen enough of his playing style to think that he would fit the way Fulham would play. And also I've seen enough of what Marco Silva's done with players who were a bit down on their luck or maybe needing a bit of a refresh or a refurb. And to think that I think that would be a good fit all round. I don't think he's going to suddenly score 20 plus goals a season. I think he could be a bit part player for a team, say Fulham or a team similar kind of level maybe, and could get back on the pitch and do a bit more. But it's all about trying to keep him fit. So look. He's young enough to think that he could get a fresh start somewhere else, and we could see a few years, 2 or 3 years or whatever, of him play a much better level. But he's not that young where we're all thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be vastly different. But I don't think he is long enough in the tooth and has the goals and the stats, if you like, to go and say, I don't know, Leeds United or a promoted side to go, we get this guy, he could keep us in the division.
Sure.
Do you see what I mean?
I think he might struggle for a new club.
He could do in the Premier League. I do agree with that.
Because I just don't think people will.
Because it's too much of a gamble.
Yeah, and the problem he has, if you look at Raul Jimenez's issue around availability, a lot of it was to do with this impact injury he had, which is horrific psychologically for him.
Yeah.
You look at Calvert-Lewin's problem. I know he had a broken cheekbone, Calvert-Lewin, but that aside, he's had something like 6 or 7 separate hamstring injuries. You know, that is a problem. Yes. And the reason it's a problem is because it affects other parts of the mechanics of how he moves and how he runs. Like he'll pick up an ankle injury or a knee injury or whatever it may be, and that'll be related to this problem he has with his hamstrings. And I think he's also a very high profile player, and he falls into this bracket of he's probably got good representation. He's got a very high reputation on things like the fact that he's played and scored for England, this kind of thing. So he's probably going to demand high wages. The fact that he's leaving on the free means he'll be demanding even higher wages, and I wouldn't be surprised. Well, look at it. Look at it another way. I wouldn't also be surprised if some football club took a chance on him, because football clubs can make mad decisions sometimes. But also, it could go the other way. I don't know if he's done enough to earn a contract at a. And what position did Fulham finish last season?
They were 11th last season.
Right, so they're in or around the top 10 club.
But the reason why I'm saying that is, as the playing style and also the manager has a track record on doing that. But I kind of agree with you as well that if he takes a piss with the wages, people will go, come on, mate, you haven't played that much and your numbers aren't brilliant. They're all right, but again, as you say, people know there's a player there, and I think he's just at that age where you think, right, this is kind of last chance really for the Premier League to see what you can do. He may well have to go abroad. He may well have to go out of Europe potentially. I don't know.
I find it kind of interesting on how it would pertain to Fulham and play on a player like Rodrigo Muniz as well, because he's shown in cameos that he can go on streaky runs and score. He's been patient. He's a lot younger than Calvert-Lewin. You know, I mean, are you happy for that to come?
But my point is, if you can get him and his wages aren't ridiculous, you've got him on the free. If you think, right, let's get him in and let's give him a year's contract and just see what he's about. Because if you do get an injury to one of your forwards, you always need a backup. So again, being a bit part player and just seeing how it goes, I think that is, with Calvert-Lewin, I suspect where he's at.
I think he's a perfect fit for Manchester United, personally.
There you go.
Yeah.
But the idea of a side coming and going, there he has a 3 or 4 year contract, I think that would be quite fanciful.
High wages, can't stay fit. Looks really good modelling the gear.
They are.
Doesn't he, Calvert-Lewin?
Yeah, can't take that away.
Arsenal need a striker, Jim.
They do. I don't think he's the one, though.
No, he was linked. They were linked with him for a while.
Yeah, a long time ago, though.
Yeah, many hamstrings ago now.
Many hamstrings ago.
Elsewhere at Arsenal, Jim, Thomas Partey's contract ends today.
Yep.
It ends today. We're quite near Arsenal Stadium. You're going to wave him off?
Absolutely not. No.
Well, just to make sure he goes.
Yeah, fair. Actually, fair. If that's what it takes, I'll step up on that.
See him scuttling away. Yeah, probably.
It's time. Glad to see him go. He apparently wanted more money to play less. It's like, come on, mate. Come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. I'm glad to see the back of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sure.
Many Arsenal fans will be.
I'm sure. Yeah, and I'm sure everybody understands that. Christian Norgard looks like he's. It's so annoying when you hear Arsenal and then you go, oh, well, the deal's not quite done, and so you're kind of reluctant.
Which is, so far, literally all of Arsenal's business is not confirmed yet. They haven't officially signed anyone yet. I don't think.
Not even Zubimendi.
No, that's still not been announced.
Oh my goodness.
Well, the problem with both
I announced it, Jim.
Yeah, it should be done. It should be enough. The problem with both those players is in the medical, they couldn't get the evidence that the heart was connected to the brain.
That'll
so
be
they just need to work on that.
Probably having surgery.
Yeah.
What I would say to Martin Zubimendi is if you don't want to go and play for Arsenal, then
you can play paddle.
Yeah, loads of stuff you can do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go to Thorpe Park. But I think it's to do with accounting windows, and I think it helps Real Sociedad for it to happen in July or whatnot. But Norgard, I think, is a very, very interesting signing because obviously he's not coming in to replace Partey, he's coming in to replace Jorginho, and I think some people have been quite underwhelmed by that as a signing. But he's Brentford captain. He's a strong tackler. He makes a lot of progressive passes, and a lot of the problems Arsenal had last season, where they just didn't get the ball out of midfield quickly enough. And Zubimendi and Norgard are both kind of quite progressive passes, as I say. And one of the things I like about it is if Zubimendi isn't available for whatever reason, then you don't have to change the way you play.
Yes,
because they've both got that characteristic. So yeah, I think it's a good sign.
Because Norgard probably won't be a starter. But
no,
if you're playing in all the competitions and all
exactly,
that,
and you know. Arsenal have run their players into the ground a lot, and obviously that's caught up with them last season with all the injuries. I think that's absolutely a factor. So
didn't run Jorginho into the ground; he was playing at the Club World Cup.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
So maybe we should have kept him. Gentlemen, speaking of midfielders, if you like, did you see that Paul Pogba has officially signed with Monaco? That's one that's been done.
Yeah.
If Eric Dyer's there,
count me in. He said.
Eric Dyer, Paul Pogba, Ansu Fati.
Yeah. Come on.
That feels very Football Manager.
Did you see Eric Dyer's unveiling? He was on a yacht and there was like a drone sort of footage going around and he was there in the shirt on and I was just like, that's a lovely old job, Eric. He got his winners' medal in the Bundesliga and now I'm cashing it in.
He's had a lovely career, Eric Dyer.
Yes.
He's grown up in an interesting place. He's come through in Portugal. He's gone to Spurs. He's climbed into the crowd, tried to fight someone. He's won a league medal in Germany.
He's been a big part of England's tournament
resurgence.
Success.
He had that bromance with Dele Alli for a while, which was pleasing.
Won a bronze at the UEFA Nations League.
Won a bronze at the UEFA Nations League, and now he's at Monaco having a lovely old time.
And he's got Paul Pogba with him now.
Paying no tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Pogba, when it was announced on social media, had a comment from Bruno Fernandes on Instagram, and Bruno said, congratulations. I think he's Pog's back or something.
Yeah, he just said Pog back. Yeah.
Pog back. That was what it was. To which Paul Pogba replied, "I feel sorry you are still at United, bro."
Unguarded.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, which was, I think, something we can all get behind.
So basically, Paul Pogba signed for Monaco. Somehow Man United are getting strays from that. Yeah. by one of their own players.
Bruno Fernandes getting them as well because he has to do everything about it.
After he was wishing it well, he was like, "Hey, you're back. That's good."
Yeah.
He's like,
do you think if Carve Solakol saw Bruno Fernandes, he'd say, "If you don't like this, you can do that." And Bruno Fernandes goes, "I'm doing that.
I'm doing everything."
You can also
go for a swim.
Yeah, so you certainly can in Monaco.
Yeah,
lovely bit of coastline, of course, as Eric Dyer. I mean, Monaco was the kind of it's the European. Or the sort of original like Saudi Pro League or the Chinese League and all that kind of stuff, because obviously you can pay a bit more there.
Yeah,
and you're in a proper league as well. Champions League often.
Yeah,
lovely kit.
You know, you can. You don't have to go to the Saudi Pro League. You can go to Monaco.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. What point are you making? Just that you're into Monaco.
Yeah.
We could.
No, I've never been. I've never been.
We could move the Ramble to Monaco and get some kind of tax status, maybe.
We could do that.
Yeah. Would the problem with that is that would really undercut our progressive. Woke positions, wouldn't it?
All right, let's do it then. Now, everybody, speaking of progressive and woke, we've got a Juan Bernabe update, the former Lazio Falconer, who at the start of the year, of course, had the old penis surgery. You all remember this.
I don't know why we've not led with it.
Yeah. Well, his penis.
I was going to say, we know what he
presumably is leading with his penis.
Yeah, he was sacked.
Got the eagle landed on it.
Yeah, he was sacked for posting pictures of his successful penile implant surgery.
It's tough one to put on the CV, that.
Very tough.
There seems to be a gap here. What are you doing now? Don't worry about it.
He popped up at a Serie D club.
There appears to be a gap here. Just push that button. There you go. Filled it.
Yeah, he was there. I think it was Serie C or Serie D side, if you remember, showing off his Falcon. And of course he was in the Lazio training ground and barricaded himself in, and there was all that kind of stuff. Apparently he's been there until this weekend. I mean, he was evicted over the weekend.
Again, we joked about this, didn't we? But it turns out he actually did live at the training ground.
Yes,
which is a remarkable setup. And what I think is really interesting about
him with his big penis flopping about.
Just willy-coptering constantly, all the space he's got. But do you remember when he was sort of explaining why he had this surgery? He was essentially bigging up his own prowess and his own kind of relentless sex drive, talking about how he had to ejaculate as often as possible. So presumably, if we are to believe
if you don't like it, you can ejaculate as often as possible.
But so he's bringing people back to the training ground. It's embarrassing, isn't it?
Probably is.
Well, when he said he needed to ejaculate, he didn't mention anybody else being there.
True.
But you got a problem with that, Jim?
I just think it's unusual.
It's a free world.
All right.
Yeah. You're right. Should be more open-minded.
It's worth remembering that when he did a lot of fascist chanting and did a fascist salute, he just got suspended for that.
Yeah. I won't be pressing that button for that. Yeah, so clearly a dreadful bloke, but he's gone from Lazio's training ground at last.
It's also worth remembering he's 56 years old, which makes it even more tragic.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Because he could have just bought a pair of leather trousers and rode a motorcycle around or something. But instead he had to get
drive from New York to LA. At least you get some good photos and stories on the way.
With
now
Phil Brown. With Phil Brown.
Now you're talking. Yeah. He must be out in the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
So he's gone. He had been living in his room at the training ground, but was evicted over the weekend.
Yeah.
How did it take?
It's really bad to live at the training ground anyway, I think. But when they're actively trying to get you to leave for 6 months and you're just stubbornly burrowing in there, it shows you something else entirely.
It shows you the red tape prevalent in Italian society these days.
Indeed.
Several court orders, I expect.
I expect as well. Do you think the Falcon is just that fearsome? That you go near him and he just shows you the falcon and it's like his attack.
It's an eagle.
Yeah, it is an eagle.
Yeah, I think a falconer is like a catch-all term for
That's
all
true,
birds of prey. I think it's an eagle. I don't think the eagle's living there with him the whole time, is he?
Well, where's the eagle then?
Does a caged bird sing as sweetly, Marcus?
Usually not.
No, exactly. So give him time to spread his wings, quite literally.
Okay, well, apparently the eagle was living there, but got removed when he was sacked.
Well, so happy ending to the story.
For the eagle. A happy ending to the story.
The eagle no longer has to live with a deviant.
Yeah, but maybe now he's going to find out where the eagle is and they'll be reunited.
The eagle was perched on the back of a cuck chair.
We're back tomorrow for the mailbag.